What's up everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula. Hope you're having a good day, and welcome to another Pokemon Go video. So, one of the most common strategies for increasing your rankings in the Go Battle League is to reduce your personal player rating at the beginning of the season by purposefully losing several games in a row. This is commonly referred to as tanking. Well, I decided to try out this strategy for the first time at the beginning of the current season. I'm going to tell you my results after using this strategy, as well as what I think about tanking itself. Right, so let's roll the intro and jump right into it. Some of the most veteran battlers have often employed several strategies in order to get to the highest ranks and to collect the best rewards. One of these strategies is to purposefully lose several battles in a row in order to reduce their own player rating, otherwise known as tanking. But why would anyone do this? Isn't the point to get as many wins as possible? Well, once your rating is low enough with a bunch of losses, the game's matchmaking system will think that you are a terrible battler, and will match you up against other players who are naturally bad or lower level. You can then go full stop with a powerful team and rack up a ton of wins in a row, since you are only going to be going up against players who are way below your skill level. Now, this isn't a strategy that is unique to Pokemon Go. In just about any competitive game that utilizes a matchmaking system, it's common that certain players will purposefully throw their matches in order to get easier opponents later on. Typically, this is seen as a very toxic way to play, as you could very easily screw over any teammates, and you can make the experience miserable for anyone who is still new to the game. Even though I knew about this strategy, I never really used it in previous seasons for a lot of the reasons I stated. I also didn't think it was worth spending several battle sets in order to intentionally lose, since we have a limited number of battles per day. However, I wanted to try it out for this current new season to see how effective it is to get me to the higher ranks. I also wanted to farm up more rare candy, which is a reward for getting 4 wins in every set. Well, as it turns out, this strategy does actually work, and it produces the results that it is intended to give. The first thing that I did was construct a team specifically for losing. I picked 3 random Pokemon with very low CP. I then jumped into the Great League and purposefully lost as much as possible. I would basically mindlessly tap on the screen or simply go AFK. After a while, I would just straight up leave the battle after it would start, because I began to go up against other players who were also trying to purposefully lose. Once I got to rank 11, with approximately 43 losses out of 45 games, I switched over to my pre-constructed team consisting of meta Pokemon. I then proceeded to win my next 21 straight battles. The opponents that I was going up against were not anywhere near the level of my meta team. Instead, they were still at the level of the team that I was using to purposefully lose. I was quite surprised that the game did not pick up on what Pokemon I was using at the time, and it instead seemed to go off my win percentage. Since I was constantly getting 5 win sets, I was able to collect a ton of rare candy, a ton of Stardust, and much more. I was actually quite shocked at how easy these battles were. Each of my opponents were using mostly non-meta Pokemon, and none of them were anywhere near the 1500 CP limit. Now eventually, I think the game started to correct itself. My rating went from about 2 wins in 45 games to about 36 wins in 75 games after a couple days. I then started to see a lot of opponents with actual meta Pokemon. The battles weren't too difficult, but they were about what I would typically see in any other season without tanking. I was, of course, winning a lot less at this point. My sets went from 5 easy wins to around 2 to 3 wins per set, which I would consider normal. I then proceeded to tank for the next 10 matches to see if it would give me easier opponents again, and sure enough, it did. So yeah, tanking definitely works from a results-oriented point of view. If you don't necessarily care about how high you can go in terms of rankings, or you don't have a good collection of PvP Pokemon yet, then this is a good way to farm up easy wins for those resources. Also, this was a very efficient way for me to complete multiple pegs of the Go Battle League time to research. But is it ethical to use this strategy? Well, I certainly think it is not ethical, but it is certainly effective. I do feel bad for completely stomping on lower level players once I switched over to my main team. There were plenty of moments where I knew they didn't stand a chance. I think for anyone who wants to battle in the Go Battle League casually, higher level players using this strategy will create an incredibly negative experience for them. Instead of going up against similar level players, they would have to deal with much higher level players that would be near impossible to defeat. Thus, they end up losing out on a lot of those rewards. Therefore, I can't encourage anyone using this strategy, but I totally recognize that people will do it anyway. The rewards are extremely good when you are winning so many battles in a row, and this is a fast track way to get to higher ranks in the competitive ladder. I think Niantic needs to be clear on what they think about this. I know that the Go Battle League is a part of Pokemon Go that they've kind of neglected, but I do think that if they don't want players to utilize tanking as part of their gameplay, then they need to make that clear. Either they should fix the matchmaking algorithm to better detect tanking, or they need to come out and say that doing something like this is going against the integrity of the Go Battle League's competitive landscape and could result in severe penalties. Whatever the case may be, players have been utilizing this strategy for several seasons now, and it doesn't seem like Niantic has ever communicated about it. At the very least, I think they should. One final note regarding tanking that I actually thought was pretty funny: trying this strategy out actually proved something to me that has always been contentious in the Pokemon Go community. There are quite a few players out there who firmly believe that there is a Pokemon type advantage algorithm that will purposefully match you against teams that have a lead advantage against you for the purpose of game balance. Since Niantic wants to keep you at around 50% win rate, they will constantly match you against players using a team that hard counters yours. While there is evidence of a matchmaking algorithm based on win percentage, there is absolutely no evidence of an algorithm based on type advantages. I never believed this sort of thing existed in the game, and I believe it even more so now. While I was tanking my battles, I didn't see any patterns when it came to types. No matter what Pokemon I used, I would almost always go up against the same Pokemon, and I never thought I had any type advantages or disadvantages in a row. When I stopped tanking, I didn't see any changes or patterns as well, but once my win percentage started getting higher and higher, that's when I started to go up against more advanced players, but in most of those matches, I still had the type advantage. So yeah, if you have been losing a ton of battles in a row, and you think it's because there's some sort of game balance algorithm screwing you over, I think you should instead reevaluate your team and just get better at the game. But yeah, with that said, that's going to be it with this video. Now, there is a lot of discussion constantly happening regarding the ethics of tanking your matches. I would love to know where you stand. Leave those thoughts down below in the comments, and let's have a great discussion. And if you ended up enjoying this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, big or small, then be sure to check out the links in the description below. For all my patrons, they get a permanent spot on my in-game friends list, so if you want to interact with me in some way, like with remote raids, then do consider becoming a patron on my Patreon. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.